Testing 1 2 1 2 3. No, nothing. It's all set up correctly. Audition. It's in the microphone jack, right? Audition. Testing. 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 Is there another program? I don't care.
I'm watching an eagle fly up high. Sky. The atmosphere above is bright and clear. There's not a care on my mind. The winding rivers flow below, and upon a cliffside I stand proud and tall. Purple mountains, majesties roll on unto the ground, meets the sky. Whoa, whoa, I love you, America, and I thank you for the things you've given me. Whoa, whoa, I love you, America, you make me free. Yeah. Cries throughout the land, and Our Lady helps guide the way for all of those who want to find a place they can call home, sweet home. Yeah, 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 yeah. I love you, America. And I
I'm gonna kill him. There's nothing else. I'm gonna kill him. Now, what do you think of that? I said, what do you think of that? Don't answer. You don't have to answer everything. I'm gonna kill her. I'm gonna kill her with a 44 Magnum pistol. I have a 44 Magnum pistol. I'm gonna kill her with that gun. Did you ever see what a 44 Magnum pistol would do to a woman's face? I mean, it would fucking destroy it.
To jack the headphones up either, but I wonder why it took a minute to kick in. Good evening and welcome to Spooky South Coast. Tim Weisberg here, along with Stephanie Burke, the silent assassin Matt Costa, and science advisor Matt Moniz. We are here to talk about the paranormal, as we are each and every Saturday night. Well, it's working now anyway.
There's only one thing I can do.
Good evening and welcome to Spooky South Coast. Tim Weisberg here, along with the silent assassin Matt Costa and Stephanie Burke. Matt Money's off for the holidays, but we have the entire Spooky Studio filled up with people. There's a lot of people here. Hold on, turn this on. No, keep that on. Put that there. Take that out. Take that out. Okay. I think I've reset myself properly. But we have joining us in the studio, co-hosting for tonight, we have John Brightman from Bright Star Promotions. Hello, John. How are you?
How are you doing, buddy?
Oh, look, see, he knows how to use the mic now. He's getting right up on it. We got you
Getting used to it. You've trained me well.
and we have Porter here with us again too, and looks like you've got your own microphone too. So
I do. I've got my own mic right in front of me, so I'm doing good.
That's how you know that you're the paranormal celebrity in the room, because you have your own mic instead of having to share. Like
I don't want to share with John.
I offered to share.
They're like, yeah, I don't know. Like, you got to get really close to share some of these microphones, and it gets kind of weird.
Quick.
Especially when we have not enough chairs either, and you have to sit on each other's laps to share the microphone. That's when it gets super weird.
Yeah, I don't know if I want Porter sitting on my lap or
No?
massaging my leg.
Who said he was going to be sitting on your lap?
Yeah. Who's saying that? I'm not agreeing to any of that.
Maybe you could have been sitting on his.
Nah.
I mean, it's Christmas. He's the one with the beard.
I am.
This is true. This is true.
This is getting weird already.
Yeah, you're not sitting on Santa's lap tonight.
Well, I mean,
Oh my god.
if you want to, we can find you a Santa. If it's two things we have plenty of around Fairhaven, it's Santas and Jesuses.
Oh, really?
So
That is true.
we have plenty of
That's
those.
true.
It's the perfect place to celebrate Christmas. Did you hear the story? Did I tell it when you were here last week about the Fairhaven Jesus? The last time you were here,
I
was
think
that last
so.
week?
Yeah, I think you talked about it.
So there's literally a guy that walks around this town dressed as Jesus.
He moved to Florida, didn't he?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So you never know. I'm assuming he's down there now because it's winter, but you never know when he's just going to pop into the window looking for early birthday presents. So
Interesting.
we can share those with them. So how's everybody doing tonight?
Great. How are you?
I'm spooktacular.
I knew that was coming.
He says with little conviction. Well, I went shopping before I came here, which is always a good idea.
Right.
Isn't it fun this time of year?
2 days before Christmas.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't make any sense. If you're running like an Old Navy in Wareham, you would think that you would have enough people to work the registers. Like, did you not think people were going to come out shopping, especially when you're like open till midnight or whatever? Did you not think people were going to want to come in and buy things, that you should have people at the register to ring them up? And then, of course, everybody that was at the register in front of me had an issue.
Naturally.
Mm-hmm. Like two people decided that was a great time to apply for the Old Navy card.
Oh, yeah.
And then another lady was trying to use her Old Navy card, but it wasn't letting her. So, of course, they have to do that thing where the manager has to call them, and then they have to have the lady talk on the phone. But instead of being like, let's put your stuff aside, and you can just be next, when they just left that register tied up and all kinds of stuff like that. So I'm like, come on.
People are miserable.
Right. And not only are they miserable, but like add into it the rain and everybody getting soaked and
Right.
people not wanting to run from place to place, and it was a bad idea.
It's terrible.
I don't know why I chose to go down. I was just sitting at the house all day being like, I'll just go right before I leave for the show. Like, I don't need to go
It's
now.
fine.
I like to go the weekend of, the couple days before Christmas, because I have good sales and I can get multiple gifts instead of one with what I budgeted. But sometimes I wonder if it's not worth just becoming one of those online shoppers.
Listen, I swear by online shopping.
It's a lot easier.
Get on there, order it. It shows up on the front porch. I'm done. I don't have to fight the crowds.
Well, there's been all those stories this week too about people who have people coming to their front door and stealing packages right off their front door.
Right.
Which kind of bothered me, because like I'm looking at some of the people online that are complaining about this, like and putting, and it's not even if somebody stole their package. Like, I would feel bad if somebody stole their package, but they're like, oh, somebody came up on my front door and was like jiggling my door handle and everything, and they're putting up this like full color, high definition security footage, and I'm like, you live in the ghetto,
Right.
and
I
like
don't
you don't have
understand
any,
that.
like, you're complaining you don't have any money, and you've got better surveillance equipment than the ghost hunting teams that we know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like, I think, like, Porter, if you're going to use a security system for a show like Haunted Towns, you would think you could at least have the same quality as somebody who's just trying to protect their weed from getting stolen from their house. But
This is getting real right now.
This is getting real.
and besides, like, why do you even need that high-tech security system anyway? You've already got 4 pit bulls in the apartment anyway.
Right.
But
So-
it's legal anyways now.
Well,
Well,
not the
certain
amount they
amount.
have.
Well,
Yeah.
this is true, but still.
It's not recreational use when you have it by the
So
pounds.
did you hear the story before we get into paranormal topics?
The grandparents?
This is a little weird. That was a very interesting story yesterday where a couple in their 80s driving from California to Vermont gets pulled over, and when they get pulled over, and the funny part of the story is, you know why they got pulled over?
No.
Because they didn't use their turn signal. I would have thought that an 80-year-old couple driving from California to Vermont would have their turn signal on the whole way. But for some reason they didn't use their turn signal, so that leads to them getting pulled over. And when the cops get close to the car, all they can smell is weed. And then they get up there and they find out there's 60 pounds of marijuana in the car. And so they ask the people, "Why are you driving around with 60 pounds of marijuana in the car?" "Well, it's a Christmas gift."
Yeah.
So
They said the street value was $336,000 or something like
Something
that.
like that. I read it.
that's a hell of a Christmas gift.
And
Right?
that takes care of a lot
Right?
of glaucoma.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, Grandma.
Cancer, glaucoma.
They were 80 and
Yep.
83. I couldn't believe that.
It could see perfectly too.
Right. I'm
Now
sure.
you wonder why.
They could see things that we can't.
And also, though, like they dipped into it, obviously, because
Yeah.
they could smell it and everything. And if that's the case, like, you're already driving from California to Vermont. It's already a long trip. You want to do it at 35 miles an hour the whole way?
And it's a Christmas gift. So what
Yeah.
are you doing? You're using some of somebody's Christmas
Well,
gift?
I'm thinking that they probably like needed like 40 pounds for Christmas,
Right.
And just figured like if we have 60 with us, then we have a little bit to play
Right.
with on the way.
Well, it's to get them through the whole family get together at Christmas. That's
That
what
too,
it is.
and it's
The trip out there, the trip back,
my
and
goodness.
dealing with the family.
It's great for the barter system too. It's like when you pull up to that gas station in the middle of nowhere, and gas is like $3.75 a gallon. You're like, I'm not paying that. I'll just trade you some weed. And the guy behind the counter is like, that's a good deal as far as I'm concerned.
Oh my God.
So, anyway, I just thought that it was funny that these people have these security systems on, and I'm looking at them all. I was watching CNN too earlier, and they had a whole bunch on them, and I was like, maybe we're doing it wrong with the surveillance systems that we're using. Like maybe it's time to stop using like these old DVR systems that we've been hung up on for years, and be like, let's just get like the Ring doorbells and put those all over haunted places, because those pictures are phenomenal, and they have night vision and everything. So,
and a doorbell, so they can ring the doorbell.
and it's what's really funny is like we do this thing where, and it's not just for television, it's paranormal investigators do it too, where we set up all these cameras all over the place, and then we have one person who doesn't participate in the investigation who just sits there and watches the video, which of course has value in it too. But some of these fancier systems, like you can watch them on your phone, so you can be watching one room on your phone while you're in another room, and like there's just way more possibilities than we're stuck on. And I still see people saying like, I just bought a $4,000 DVR system. I'm like, where'd you go to buy it? Because you can get it for $150 now at Walmart.
Ripped
Yeah.
off.
Right. So, yeah. I don't know what Santa's bringing you guys, but if it's a new DVR system, just be aware that you could probably have gotten a better deal.
I don't plan on it, so we're good.
Those, I don't see the need.
Nope.
When we do stuff, what do you need? What you can? Oh, yeah, we're going over the air. Thanks. How'd you figure that out? Okay. Well, can I go back? I should go back over the air anyway. Go back over the air anyway and say, anybody? We didn't swear yet, right? No, we're good.
I don't think so.
We should.
I don't think about it.
I think we were all good.
Thankfully, there's nobody listening to the NFL game tonight on WBSM. There's no way that anybody. They're all watching the Spooky South Coast stream
Of course they are.
because they're like, this is Saturday night. This is Spooky South Coast night. So I was thinking that tonight we would discuss a couple of big topics that have been going around in the paranormal world. Last week, of course, we covered probably the biggest topic that was going around, and we got a lot. We're still getting emails on it. We're
I'm
still getting
sure.
comments on it, and that was the Warrens situation. That was a
Interesting.
spirited discussion, I will say, and people came down on different sides of the issue, and people had different thoughts and feelings about not only what the Warrens were supposedly doing, but also how they were portraying themselves in the public. And I don't know if you guys can feel free if you have any thoughts to share on the situation. If you want to, we can certainly let you use the microphone to espouse those opinions if you want to. But it's one of the weirdest stories, but in a way I'm also kind of not surprised either. You know, you know what I'm talking about. Okay.
I've heard briefly about it. I didn't actually get a chance to listen last week.
Supposedly they had a third party in their
Yes.
marriage for
Yes.
40 years.
Yep.
So, but that drew a lot of people's.
I say to
varying
each their
opinions.
own. You know what? I mean, I understand there could have been an age issue there,
Right.
but again, to each their own. If that's what they want to do, that's the way they want to run their life and their family, that's to them. It might not be what I agree is right. It might not be what any of us agree is right, but it's what they want to do. There's relationships out there that are like that now.
And I thought the key to it was the part where, you know, she had claimed that she had helped Ed fake paranormal evidence.
Right.
You know, that was the part that I was like, why isn't enough people talking about that?
Right.
You know, they're all
Instead,
jumping
they're
on
talking
the
about
Because
the
they like
age and
they like gossip. You know.
yeah, they like. Well, it's because they just want anything to discredit the Warrens because of jealousy and what have you.
Right.
But like that's what you can use to discredit them if you wanted to. That's the part that's going to say, well, if that part is true, then maybe all of their research is fake. You know, there's already that they were involved in the capturing of that ghost boy photo from the Amityville house,
Right.
which there's always been controversy about. That was it actually one of the DeFeo children, or was it just that investigator who was there with him that night? And when you see the side-by-side picture of the investigator and the photo, you can say, well, it could go either way. And then when you look at the photo of the DeFeo boy, you say, well, it could go either way. So, you know, if you're 50-50 on the fence about what that could be, this story could make you say, well, I'm just going to assume it was the investigator then.
Right.
And then it discredits everything that they've done.
Well, one thing too, you got to think about the time period. You know, I mean, that time that was pre-70s, so you know the age difference was more. It was more acceptable back then, and those child protective laws didn't really come into play until in the 70s. So you know, it was one of those things that was it was the way it was then.
I mean, and if that's, I'm sure there was a lot of relationships that were like that. Might not be to the extent where, you know, they had the person living in the house with them.
Right.
But I'm sure there were a number of relationships where there was a third party involved, and either somebody had somebody else's blessing, or they knew about it and they just ignored the situation, or what have you. But certainly it will carry on because they're working on more Ed and Lorraine movies. More Conjuring
That's
movies.
what I've heard. That's
So
what I've heard.
that's going to bring up more crap when those movies come out.
yeah.
And
While we're talking about that, because I heard that there is another Amityville coming out, possibly.
well, there is. It's already been completed, but it was supposed to come out in October, and they've been sitting on it.
But now, did that guy supposedly buy the house? The one that's been accused of all this stuff that's been going around, the famous
Harvey Weinstein?
Yeah,
No.
is he the one that bought the house?
No, from what we've been told, it's somebody else.
Okay.
That's kind of on the fringe of the paranormal horror world.
Okay.
But we haven't gotten any
Because
confirmation
I had
on that
heard
yet.
that Weinstein was part of that.
Well, they own the rights to the franchise. The Weinstein Group,
Okay.
the Miramax, own the rights to the films. So they have the copyright on the Amityville name.
Oh, okay.
So that's why there's been. That's why when you saw the Conjuring, I think it was Conjuring 2,
Yeah.
that started off in the Amityville house,
Yep.
but they couldn't really say the Amityville case. They couldn't refer to it as that. That's because another company had the rights to do that, and there is an Amityville film that came out because it has something to do with you have to use the copyright like every so often to make sure that it still stays active,
Yep.
or else it can come back out. So they made a movie that was not really an Amityville film that had another story to it, and they just slapped the Amityville name on it.
That's kind of like what's going on. I don't know if you've seen it. Steph might have seen it because she follows that page, on Facebook, the Comic-Con
Yep.
page there. I can't.
Right.
link
I know
it.
what you're talking about.
San Diego Comic-Con sued another Comic-Con for using a name, for using Comic-Con in its actual title.
Well, that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't, but they won.
Well, I mean, if they copyrighted it, they copyrighted it. But I'm just
But
saying
they-
there's hundreds of Comic Cons that use that phrase.
Yep.
Right.
So I don't know
But
why.
yeah, it's
you
been
picked
going on
one
for
to
like the
go.
past 8 months. They went after Salt Lake City Comic-Con and won. And but the judge and a bunch of people sided with, so even though they sided with the jury and the judge sided with San Diego and awarded them money, they were asking for millions. The jury and the judge said no and gave them 20 grand. That's it.
Well, I mean, in reality, like it's not like it's one of those things where people are going to get confused. I mean, people know that the Comic Con is San Diego, and people realize that when you have these other events in other places, I think they know that they're probably not tied in.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of
why I
brand
brought it up
confusion.
is because they said the same thing, that even though it was in their name, they hadn't did something with the trademark.
Right.
They haven't like reissued it or something like that. So that's why they didn't award them the full thing.
Yeah, that kind of stuff happens all the time.
Yeah.
One of the problems with the Amityville story is that story has been told so many times that you can own the trademark for it, but what are you going to do with it? Because you can only remake that story so many times. I'm sure at some point we'll get like a Netflix dramatic series about living there, and it'll be 28 episodes, and
Just
each one
like
will
The
be a day of
Exorcist.
living there. Yeah, The Exorcist show is really good.
It is.
And so I'm sure like something like
Nope.
that will come down the pike. She's not going to watch it.
I'm not gonna watch that.
Yeah,
You
this is
crazy?
true.
It's
But
actually
have you seen it?
No,
it's a
just
pretty
the
good
movies.
horror show
Yeah,
for
it is
television.
pretty good
Like it
horror.
has pretty scary
do it.
moments.
Yes.
But it's very well done. When I watched the first season, I said, "How are they going to turn The Exorcist into a weekly series and find a way to tie it in where it's not going to be cheesy?"
Yep.
And the first season tied in, and it didn't come off as too cheesy. I thought.
It didn't.
And
It really
then this season, the only part I didn't like about this season was I don't want to spoil alert this at all, but the person who ended up getting possessed, I was like, "Ugh, that's like the
Yeah.
cheesiest of all the people to choose." But
yes.
anyway, but it's a good show. But the Amityville story, like you can only do so much with that, so it becomes inevitable that you're just going to put that label on other stories, which is what they did in the 80s. After the original movie was so successful, Amityville 2 had a good twist on it because that was the DeFeo story without actually using the name DeFeo.
Right.
And then by the time you got to 3, well, now you're looking at gimmicks, so you're making a 3D movie. And then by the time you got to 4 and the ones after that, you're doing direct-to-video anyway, so nobody really cares about the plot. And there was one, I don't remember which one it was, but there was one where it just got to the point where it was no longer about the house or the family, and it was about stuff that had been in the house. So there was one film where it was about a clock that was in the Amityville house that these people brought into their own house, and it was Amityville, it's about time. So, but it's making a comeback, and of course now you have the Lutz children who are actually coming out and telling their own stories.
Yes.
And so that's kind of hampering these other stories from getting a lot of publicity. And the other thing too is I don't know how much I can say about it yet because I don't know how much they've talked about it publicly. But I've been talking with some folks behind the scenes of this new movie, and not only did they bastardize the Amityville name for this film, but they bastardized somebody else's haunting story, real life haunting story, to form the basis of this, and they're not giving
That person
any
credit.
due to that person or to anybody involved with Amityville. So that's kind of why it's been held up. There's been some lawsuits and things like that. So the movie was supposed to come out, last I heard, in January. So we'll see if it actually does. And even if it does, it's probably not going to be a theatrical film, and because I think people are just over that story. If they somehow got the rights back and made a Conjuring film about the Amityville case, it would do huge.
Oh, absolutely.
But I just think all these other movies aren't going to do as well. So, and I think that would also be somewhat disingenuous too, because Ed and Lorraine were not really involved in that case as much as their reputation claims that they were. They went there after the Lutz family had moved out and conducted one investigation, as far as I know, one investigation. And then it turned into, this whole thing where they've investigated the Amityville horror house. But whatever. I mean, we know now that it could, like we talked about it behind the scenes for TV shows, like it would be like a holy grail place to get because of the lack of anybody being able to get in there, but also because it's one of the few cases that are synonymous with people outside of the paranormal.
Right.
There's very few places that you can say to people, talk about a place being haunted that they'll know right away. Lizzie Borden may be one of them. Trying to think of some other ones that would kind of qualify for that, hit people right away as being haunted. I don't know.
It's hard to come up with those, but those that have that big stigma that's been in the mainstream movies and stuff like that, it really stands out to people when you do those.
Yeah, and the advantage of doing a place like that too is that people don't want to. When you're talking about people who are outside of the paranormal world, paying attention to these things, the people who are outside of the world, they don't want to go to these places. So they're like, cool, they get to go to the Amityville house. We'll watch this episode, or we'll go see this movie, or what have you. And it's when you get those places and it's the paranormal world that's paying attention to you, then it turns into a why do they get to go in there and I couldn't? You know, we've dealt with that a lot. Anybody that's done events has dealt with that, where it's like, how come you get to go in there and they won't let my group in there? And it's like, because it comes down to money. People own places.
Right.
They don't have to let you in just because they own it. So
it takes money to keep those places up. You know?
Right, and especially if it's privately owned, you know,
Right.
if it's like a historical society or something, and you know they're getting money from your town to keep the place going, then you can say, well, I kind of have a right to come in here and check this out because you know I pay my property taxes in town, and that goes to some of this. So you can kind of argue that point. But when it's a place that somebody owns, like I can't tell you how many times people have told Leanne, like, you should let us come investigate your house.
Right.
Okay, well, it's, you know, X amount of money to rent it out for the night. Oh, no, you should let us in for free because, like, we're really good and we can help you figure out what's going on. Like, there's a paranormal team in here that works here. Like, I don't need you to come in to tell me what's going on. There's people coming in here every night. So there's some degree of that, too, where, you know, no matter what story you're trying to tell, there's going to be somebody that's going to try to undercut what you're doing. But that's all haunted stuff. I want to ask you guys about UFOs, Stephanie's favorite topic.
No.
Well, because it's been in the news all this week. We find out that there has been government funding. It stopped a few years ago, but there was a program that the government was funding. $22 million spent to research and investigate whether or not there are UFOs. And former Senator Harry Reid was involved in this program, and so that's kind of why it's hit the news, and it's hit the news pretty big. The information has been coming out from the To the Stars Academy there that Tom DeLonge started, which I'm going to take everything that they say with a grain of salt because they push right on the mission statement of that organization that part of their MO, part of their creed is to say, we're investigating the science, the technology, the history, but also the entertainment value, too. So the fact that they're saying some of this might be for entertainment purposes only has me a little bit concerned. But anyway, you know, he's putting his money where his mouth is, and he's funding this. And so the story comes out that there was $22 million invested from the government into looking into UFOs. $22 million is a drop in the bucket when it comes to government spending, first of all. Second of all, it wasn't just about trying to find out if there were beings from another planet. Some of this was to find out if these unidentified flying objects were Russian aircraft, Chinese aircraft, North Korean aircraft. So there's an actual defense purpose behind this. And the fact that they were able to do that and look for aliens and it only cost $22 million is a sign to me that like it wasn't really that serious and intensive a program. So, but anyway, we get this piece of footage. Have you guys seen the footage? Matt, I don't know if you can bring it up there, but so this footage comes out where it's some fighter pilots, Navy fighter pilots, and they're I guess somebody saw it on a ship, if I remember correctly. One of the aircraft carriers saw it and pointed it out, so they sent birds up in the sky, or they had some guys that were already up in the sky, and they had them go to where it was, and they zero in on it, and they're following, you know how like the tracker will track the bogey no matter where it goes. So they're following it as it goes around, and it's doing like all these little different maneuvers in the air that most aircraft wouldn't be able to do. And so they're tracking it, and one of the Navy pilots has been going around and making the media rounds and talking about it. And I've been seeing this, and everybody's been asking me about it. They're like, you're a paranormal guy. Have you seen this UFO footage? And I have, and I'm not that impressed by it. I've seen more impressive things. And I can't understand why, for some reason, this clip has captured people's attention and made them think that there's something to this. You know, is it because we've even had military people that have come on. We've had, you know, Edgar Mitchell come on and talk about what he saw when he was out in space on a lunar mission. You know, we've had people that have had the credentials before that have talked about this and have showed more convincing footage, but for some reason this is what's grabbing everybody's attention, and I don't know why. I don't know. Were you able to find it, Matt? If you want to run it there. I don't know if I can bring it up and show you guys. I want to try and do that, though, as we're talking about it. This is good radio. But it's also YouTube, so we can get away with it. So this might be it here. Yep, this is it right here. I'm going to start it over. All right, so this is what we're looking at. This is what
Okay.
they're talking about. This is the
So this is a thermal image.
it's whatever they use on the
That's it?
on the plane. Yep. So if you watch it, it'll move around a little bit. I would assume that's some degree of thermal imaging there.
Near San Diego. Okay. So out there near Coronado.
Like, there's actually audio with it. Should I play the audio, Matt? No, I should probably play the audio, huh?
Is it?
Huh?
Does it add to it?
Well, you can hear the descriptions from the pilots, so it's only 44 seconds.
Okay.
Let's see.
Oh, I got this one.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude. That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. That is the LNS, dude. Well, if there's like... Look at that thing. It's rotating.
So one of the pilots told the U.S. media the object was not from this world. So, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I've seen more convincing stuff than that. I didn't find that to be anything
I
particularly
mean,
impressive.
No.
no.
And it was so stationary in the field of view, you know, and all it did was
Right, it's almost like
rotate.
there was like a bug on the screen.
Right, exactly. Like it
That's
was not,
what I
was,
said. So
Yeah.
it looks like there's a bug on the
Yeah.
on the video
Yeah.
screen, and it does turn around at one point, but
I mean, that could have been the wind.
Yeah, it could be anything. But I mean,
Yeah.
I think I'd have to see the full
Yeah, I don't-
video.
Yeah, the whole thing.
so but it has done the job. I mean, it has gotten people talking about UFOs. So if the To the Stars Academy wanted to get people talking about the topic, this certainly did it, to
Right.
the point where, you know, it even came up in some of the White House press briefings. They were talking about it this week. So that happened earlier this week. And then yesterday, there was a rash of UFO sightings across California. People are concerned that it is an unidentified flying object, that it's something from another planet. Some people were worried that it was a North Korean nuclear missile. But in the end, it just turns out that it was a SpaceX launch that Elon Musk's organization decided to do a nighttime launch and not really give anybody a heads up. So that
Mass
got everybody
hysteria.
talking.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was just a miscalculation on their part to like not make a big deal out of it ahead of time, or if it was kind of like, let's just downplay it and see if it gets people talking, because then everybody will be talking about our company. But either way, you know, it got people worked up. So now we have at least some proof that the government has been looking into this. Now we have the fact that people are looking up into the skies and watching this. And I'm wondering what all this means, because every year, well, we don't really do it so much anymore, but every year we had Stephen Bassett on from the Paradigm Research Group. And he would come on and he would say, you know, I predict that next year will be the year of disclosure. And he's been saying this every year for the past 15, 20 years, and it's never come about. Bill Clinton, when he first became president, so the legend goes, one of the first things that he asked about was, he asked about Area 51 and if he could go there and see the bodies, and he wanted to know everything that the government knew about UFOs. And they told him, well, Mr. President, some of that stuff is on a need-to-know basis, and you don't need to know. You know, here's the President of the United States with one of the highest security clearances possible, and they're telling him this goes beyond what he can actually know about and what he can go and see for himself. So, I don't know. I actually think that this is one of those things where, not to make it political, but you know how Donald Trump loves to be the guy that does things, and he loves to crap all over his predecessors, especially Obama, especially Clinton. And so if this stuff was real and he knew about it, I think he would have no problem saying right out loud, like, nope, UFOs are real, the government knows about it, and they've been working with them, if that was the case. I see no reason why he would feel somewhat restrained to say that. If he could say that every Haitian refugee had AIDS, which apparently he said, that was the story going around today, I really think he would have no problem saying that there was, you know, aliens that are coming and giving us technology. So, I don't know.
They exist. That's totally fine. I want nothing to do with it.
But it's one of your favorite things.
No.
But when you
No.
look at some of the technology that we've had over the last 50 years, it does kind of beg the question of, we made some pretty big innovations and some pretty big leaps. So it is possible that some of this technology did come from somewhere else. I think a lot of times when you say that, you are kind of downplaying the work and the effort and the innovations that human beings have made. But it's quite possible. I mean, look at something like the stealth bomber, where all of a sudden this technology was just developed. And the U.S. had it, and other countries didn't. They've since kind of reverse engineered them and made them themselves. But, this was something that's a hallmark to me, that if there was some sort of a partnership going between aliens and the American government, that would be one of the things I would point to as saying that's possibly the proof that there was some sort of correlation. I don't think cell phones and all this other stuff that people point to are enough to say that there's some sort of thing going on. But then the other problem is they say, these aliens obviously have a propulsion system that is unlike anything we have on Earth, because they can come all these great distances and they can come quietly, and they're not burning fuel that leaves some sort of trace residue and all that kind of stuff. But if that technology existed and they had it and they tried to give it to us, there's no way the government would allow that to be put into our hands, because there's no way to regulate it, there's no way to tax it, there's no way to make money off it, there's no way to hold it down, there's no way to, and you would lose many business interests that support a lot of these politicians. So I can also understand that idea of wanting to kind of choke that technology from being put into the public's hands, and saying, but also too, at some point you think they would be utilizing it themselves. So I don't know.
I think the one that impresses me the most, though, is you look at ancient times and you look at the advanced metallurgy that they used, then, and it was stuff that they discovered without modern advances and modern research materials. And you look at some of the structures that were built and the physics and mathematics that were behind those. I mean, that's the thing that's more curious to me than any of the modern discoveries.
Yeah, like look at the pyramids. Yeah. I mean, that's just. I know that we have a tendency as human beings to feel like the people of past eras were not nearly as enlightened as we are, because we know so much more, we understand so much more. Obviously, we're smarter than they were, but they were actually figuring out how to do things within the framework of the limitations of what they knew at the time, which to me is even more impressive. But you look at something like pyramids and you say, well, first of all, how did anybody come up with that idea to say, I'm pretty sure that we can build this? And then to say, well, why do we need to build it? And why does it have to be this shape? Because if you're just trying to build a repository for the pharaohs to store themselves, their goods, whatever, there's easier ways to build it. Build a square. And, the idea of having it reach up into the sun and reach up toward the gods, fine. But does it have to be that dangerous to make? Can you not make that same thing? Like, for example, if you look at some of the Mayan pyramids and the Incan pyramids and things of that nature, they're stairs. They built stairs so that they could actually climb up these things. But the Egyptians are just building straight up. And it's just, when you look at it, it's a model of engineering that you just don't understand how they could have come up with that at that time. Yeah,
I mean, it's geometrically perfect. And just the angles and the how tightly fit everything is. I mean, it's been there for how long, and it's still there. So I mean, it's one of those things that was engineered near perfect, compared to what we do today. Right. We build a house now that like we build buildings that in 20 years need new roofs. Right. Brand new schools that 20 years after they're built, the gym's leaking. So the fact that they could build something thousands of years ago that stood up in that type of environment, in that type of weather, what it has to deal with, and we can't even figure out how to keep our roof from leaking when it snows. I mean, that right there is evidence of alien activity for sure. Either that, or at least they were a lot smarter than we give them credit for of that time. So now I ask you this. If there, and I already know Stephanie's answer, so I'm just going to skip over her. But if there were aliens and alien technology and alien visitations, John, would you want to interact with one?
Yes and no. I mean, yes, because I would want to learn possibly what they could show us, teach us, and maybe do things a better way. Because obviously, if they were able to build something, if they were ones that helped build the pyramid, they obviously know something better than we do, especially way back in that time. And if they can build these ships that can possibly fly from where they are out to here now and do things that they can do, then why can't we learn from that? So yes, I would want to learn in that aspect, but I think I'd also be nervous about meeting somebody like that, or a being like that, because if they're that smart, what could they do here on Earth to possibly change things for us too, in a bad way, possibly.
Part of it, though, is I think that if they could have done that, they would have already.
I agree.
You know, like Independence Day, where they just show up and they're like, "We're just going to kill you."
Yeah.
Right.
Like, we're not even going to deal with you. We're just going to squash you like bugs because we can. What about yourself, Porter? Would you want to?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know, even if you think about it, the term alien, you know, it's something not of this world. So is that something that is more intelligent than us, or are you also talking about those single cellular organisms that may be living in far, you know, in other galaxies or planets or whatever?
Well, clearly we're covering the things that use flying saucers.
You're right.
I don't know where you've been for the past 15 minutes or so. But.
Well, I'm getting to a point. But I mean, you know, if you're going to interact with something, even if it is a single cellular or some smaller life form that is put on some type of ship that comes here, I think interacting with that as well and doing research with that and trying to find out and discover what's going on with those organisms might be able to lead to new discoveries for us as well.
Yep.
You know, and those, if that entity that sent the ship or did arrive here, you know, you have to wonder what their ulterior motive is. You know, what are they here to explore? Are they here, like you said, with Independence Day, to do something you know, greater, looking for a new home or whatever the case might be? But I think you would have to attempt to interact with them and attempt to find out what their reasoning is, what their purpose is, and then try to learn from them as well.
And if they are coming here and they are, say, interacting with the government or some sort of, you know, entity outside of the government, some sort of shadow organization, but if they're operating in conjunction with human beings here on Earth, what's with the abductions? You know, what's with taking people against their will? Why would
that's what I have a problem with.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
I don't understand. Why can't you just leave people in their beds or cars or wherever you're taking them from and mind your own business? If you want some information, just politely ask. It's not difficult, right?
Yeah, they bring them
It
back.
doesn't
Take
matter.
them, they use them,
Well,
they bring them back.
If you listen to the stories of what people have been through during their abductions, it's horrendous. I will let you all get probed, and I'll be safe in my bed.
Well, I was
How
going to
does
say,
that
you
sound?
need your turn to get probed. too.
No.
That's a different
No.
show.
Right.
We did that show last week.
Those are proctologists, right?
Probing people in the paranormal. We did that show last week.
Gastroenterologists. Yeah, that's what
That's
those are
right.
aliens.
Gastroenterologist. Yes.
I mean, in some ways, you know, the argument would be, well, you would think that if the government is working with them, the government would say, well, yeah, we'll work with you, but please stop taking our people. But maybe that's part of the deal. Maybe we will give you this technology, and you just turn a blind eye to what it is that we're doing.
Right.
So, and there's people who are volunteering to do this. There's people who want to be taken away.
Don't you look at me from across the room.
And
right
people
now.
who
No, I'm actually going to tell you that people are chatting with me, telling me, "Oh, tell Steph I agree with her. They're absolutely right. Leave me alone."
Right. Like, I don't care. I'm not ignorant to the fact that there is, you know, higher intelligence out there, and the universe is vast, and obviously there's something has to be going on. You know, that's a silly statement if you don't believe in that. But it's a fear. We've talked about this multiple times. What
if they come here and they say there were no abductions, we've never done that, you know, this is just people who are messed up, have problems, what have you. We've never been here before. This is our first visit here. We're here. We're friendly. We want to get along. We want to work together. Would you have a problem with them being here?
I don't have a problem with them being here. The thing I don't like is taking somebody against their will and forcing them to do something. Or, I mean, if you read the stories of people's experiences, they're laying there, you know, paralyzed in fear, and you know, these beings are doing things to their bodies, or, you know, doing whatever it might be, and they have zero control over it. And maybe it's just a personal control issue. I don't know, but it's a safety thing. It's bizarre. It's like if somebody walked up to your door, opened your door with a key, and took you out of your house kicking and screaming, but, you know, paralyzed you at the same time, and you have no control over it. What's the difference? But now you're on a flying saucer going into outer space. That's just even weirder.
Supposedly.
Right. So, no
Allegedly.
thank you. I'm good.
E.T. roofies.
E.T. roofies.
E.T. roofies. That's what it is.
I've talked about this on the show before. I can't say I've never had an experience, but I've never been abducted. And I'm good with that.
I was abducted by an alien I met in the bar of the Holiday Inn in Paramus, New Jersey.
My God, where is this going?
Downhill fast.
He told me the world would end on February 14th, 2015. Valentine's Day.
Ooh.
They don't even know what I'm talking about. They don't
No.
get it at all. Matt
They don't.
knows. Matt, what am I talking about?
It's Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Nope.
Nope.
Ross knows it. Ghostbusters 2.
Oh,
Yep.
2. Okay.
The very beginning. We have a call on the line, and if anybody wants to call in during the show, 508-996-0500, 877-996-1420. The chat room is also up and running and active. There's a lot of people chatting in there as well, so if you want to get involved in that, remember, if you want to ask a question in the chat room, ask it in all capital letters. We won't yell at you for screaming at us. We know that you're just trying to get our attention and ask us a question, so you can do that in the chat room on SpookySouthCoast.com and on YouTube and on the YouTube app and on the Spooky South Coast app, and, of course, calling in 508-996-0500. Good evening. You are on hold on, let me make sure I put it not over the air. All right. Good evening. You are on Spooky South Coast. How are you?
I am fine. This is Eric from the chat room. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I usually turn the show off, so I won't feed back, but I was listening to I guess a football game or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's actually going over the air right now on our station. So
this is only a little bit tangential, but in our constant search for evidence for some sort of extraterrestrial sentient being, it seems like when I listen to shows, I always hear the same assumptions, and I don't know why we make them or why we assume they have to be true. And a couple that come to mind is, first of all, why does another sentient being have to have a body? Why do they even have to have a craft?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they're so advanced that they can visit us from millions of light years away, I don't know, maybe they're balls of energy. And I don't think that's discussed enough that, possibly the difficulty in accumulating evidence is that there just isn't any hardware. Do you understand what I'm getting at?
right, and one of the theories out there though is that it's not people coming from another planet, that it's either something happening transdimensionally or across time. So it's actually something that's people from the future, say, and that's why they look like us but different. It's a more evolved form of humans that are coming back, and that the appearance of this ship is not something that has traveled across the stars, but it's just entered into our dimension.
Sure. Now that I can understand, but if we were talking about a whole separate entity from very far away, I always assume that they're in a ship, that they have a body, and I think some discussion has to go into that.
Do you think that it's that they're arriving in that form, and then when they get here, they just put themselves into a state that we would be more comfortable with?
Oh, gee, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that.
So they're traveling as energy, but when they arrive here, they take a physical shell so that we will be able to interact with it.
And my last thought is, why all the poking around? Why the abduct a person here, visit a person there? If they are in spacecraft, why do they have lights? What do you need lights for if you're crossing, millions of light years? They're just too human-like, and I think we do too much anthropomorphism. We inject too much of what we are into extra ETs, and I'm sort of, as I said before, I'm a hopeful skeptic. I believe this is possible.
Well, I'm going to ask,
but I believe some of our assumptions. I'm not saying they're flawed. I'm just saying let's give equal time to the possibility that they're so different that it could be right in front of us and we wouldn't see it.
Well, I'm going to ask you to do your day job a bit here a little bit and put on that hat and say that if these things are not beings from another planet, or if there's nothing to them except for people's own, people are basically just imagining them, or if they are having some sort of episode when they see them, if they're projecting them, whatever, that would explain a lot of the need to put our own selves into these beings and have them be like us. That would actually give me,
absolutely,
more belief
and I have seen this in pediatric hospitals. It is so easy to construct the memory, and they're actually real memories. Once the person believes that, neurons form actual memories, and then they believe it because to them it is very real. So it's too easy to construct memories. It's too easy to induce them of, there's false memory syndrome and all that. So yes, that's an excellent point.
It's also very easy. It's very easy to mask memories as well. So if something traumatic happens that you don't want to believe what actually occurred, you create this false memory because it's easier to believe that something outlandish an alien abduction happened and believe that you were a victim of some sort of abuse, for example. That's
what our whole unconscious memory is for. But in terms of masking memory, sometimes we do that on purpose. Some years ago, an 8-year-old boy in a pickup truck with his mother was behind a logging truck, and he watched a log come off the truck and decapitate his mother. Oof. And in the ER, there was a psychiatrist there, and they immediately used ECT, electroconvulsive shock therapy, to erase that memory. Because it takes 2 or 3 days for a memory to consolidate. So he will never have a memory of that horrific image. So, again, you make a good point. We can make memories go away. We can mask them. We can bury them in our unconscious.
So how do you do that? How do you find? Obviously, they can't just take one specific memory away. They must have had to wipe away a number of them through that process. They would have
wiped away probably a day's worth.
Wow.
Because memory is kind of like concrete. It takes anywhere from 1 to 3 days to set up. That's why people that are in really bad car accidents, it take we call it a cerebral insult, but it's when your brain gets hit. We find that, months after their recovery, they can't remember plus or minus anywhere from a couple of days to a week before and after the accident because those memories never set up.
So I almost wonder if, we've seen movies like Total Recall where they can implant certain memories and give you memories to have an adventure and things like that. But I'm surprised nobody's come up with a business model then to help people. I had a really, really shitty day and I'd like to forget it. And you can just go into this place and they shock you and they wipe away your memory for the past day.
Oh, well, you could do it with ECT. It's kind of overkill and it's expensive and the side effects are nasty. But, yeah, you could do that. But, in therapy, you can get someone very relaxed, and it's unethical. But planting a memory is not a terribly hard thing to do.
Right, and I know that's a big concern with a lot of regression hypnotists is that are they actually helping draw out memories or are they implanting memories?
Yeah, and, neither the American Psychological Association nor the American Psychiatric Association recognizes regression memory like that because we just don't have any evidence that that what's happening happened. That doesn't mean it doesn't work, and I'm not saying it's not real.
Right, it doesn't mean it doesn't help people with the problems.
It's just the sort of thing where we should be very, very careful.
Well, thank you very much for the call and for the insight, and I could talk about this all night, but we're going to actually take a little bit of a break here. But thank you for calling in, and Merry Christmas to you, or Happy Holidays, whatever you celebrate.
No, Merry Christmas sounds good.
All right, take care. And we are going to take a break, and leading into that, and with the Happy Holidays message, I just want to say, Matt, did you notice the sign on the front door?
No.
So there's a sign on the front door saying that the station's going to be closed for the holidays and everything, and they put superheroes on the sign. And this has to be a Brian Rose creation. So there's Daredevil, there's Black Panther, there's who was the third one, Ross? The Thing, and then Darkseid.
What is he doing there?
Right, that's what we said. We're like 3 Marvels and a DC. Like, why would you? Yeah. That's just an odd. And it says whether you celebrate Christmas, and Christmas is over Daredevil. Kwanzaa, and Kwanzaa's over Black Panther. And then Hanukkah, and that's over Ben Grimm, the Thing. Or you're anti-life, and that's over Darkseid. So I thought that was pretty funny. But anyway, no matter what it is that you celebrate, Spooky South Coast wishes you happy whatever holidays. I know that there's a huge issue about whether or not you can say Merry Christmas to people, and I don't buy into that. Like, it doesn't matter, man. Like,
You're just saying something nice to people. It doesn't
yeah,
matter.
it's just a greeting. It doesn't mean anything
Right.
behind it. It's just some sort of a thing to say to people. And even if you don't celebrate Christmas, Christmas is still a day. So just because you're not observing it doesn't mean that you can't say to somebody, hey, have a good Christmas, because I want your December 25th to not be like crap. So and I also say, people say to me all the time, like, do you celebrate Christmas? Like, I want to say happy holidays to you because you have a Jewish last name. Like, no, I celebrate Christmas, but I usually say, hey, Merry Christmas to people first, because then they don't have to try to go through that crap with me because I said Christmas. So then I'd be like, is it Hanukkah that you celebrate? Or...
That's why I just say the happy holidays. It's a safe way.
There's just oversensitivity to stuff.
It is. It is.
Well, I would say that. I would always say happy holidays when I was doing the Saturday morning show, when I would hang up on people. I would say, have happy holidays, talk to you next time and everything. And people would say, why are you saying happy holidays? You could say Merry Christmas, the war on Catholics here. And I'm like, no. I'm saying happy holidays because I don't know if this person's going to call in next Saturday morning when it's, a day before New Year's Eve. So I'm just saying happy holidays to cover both. There's multiple holidays. So it's not like I want to come back. When I left Old Navy, I say happy holidays because I don't plan on going back there before New Year's to say, and happy New Year to you as well. So
I think we need to beat the bah humbug out of you before we come back for the second half. You were an angry elf tonight.
This is not bah humbug. This is not negative. This is just an explanation of.
I know.
Like we get too wrapped up in stuff.
Your happy self.
When am I ever happy?
That damn Christmas shopping did a number on you.
When am I ever happy?
I know.
This is just me.
Getting angry.
As I normally am. All right, Matt. What do you want me to do? You want me to just play the music again?
Sure.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll be right back with more Spooky South Coast. All right, welcome back to Spooky South Coast, hour number 2. We just took a little bit of an extended break there so we could say goodbye to Ross and Kirsten, who came by to visit. They brought us some Christmas goodies, so thank you to them.
I was told to tell you it's Merry Christmas time. You need to relax.
I am relaxed. I don't know who said that.
Susan and our good friend Susan that went to up at
Tell her I'm very relaxed.
the place you put together for us.
I know
mentioned
Susan.
it.
Yeah.
Tell Susan I'm way more relaxed now here than she was in that basement. That's for sure. That was a creepy night. That was scary. I'm still messed up by that, you know.
It was interesting, especially the lights going on and off and everything.
No, those doppelgangers is what messed me up.
Well, I meant the light.
I know, the lights we figured out. We debunked that. There was an a-hole ghost upstairs flipping the light switch.
But yes, that was
hilarious.
crazy with the doppelgangers hopping around down there.
Never had that happen before.
No.
And it's just strange. And now I'm hearing more and more stories of that from people too, by the way. I'm hearing more and more people say that they saw somebody living, not a ghost, but they saw a living person, but that person wasn't there. And what's weird is that when they're seeing these things, see, we were in a situation where we were seeing the people who were behind us pop around in front of us. So whatever this entity was, it was taking the form of people that were in the same room.
Yep.
But we're hearing all kinds of reports of people, at least I am, of people who are like out shopping and they run into somebody that they know and they see them and they go to talk to them and the person just looks at them like, I have no idea who you are. So then you go home and you're a little messed up by it and you say, you know what, I got to say something to them. So maybe you shoot them a text or a Facebook message or you call them and say, you know, I'm a little upset that when I ran into you at the mall the other day, you acted like you didn't even know who I was. I wasn't at the mall the other day. Wednesday at 8:30, you weren't at the mall? No, I was here. You know, and like these things are starting to happen more and more. It's not just here either. There's stories like this around the world. So I don't know if there's something out there that is pretending to be living people. You know?
Or are we running out of exclusive DNA and they're having to recycle it?
Maybe.
This could be too.
Who's
I mean,
they?
I can't tell you.
The aliens.
Stop it.
I can't tell you how many times people have told me that I look like somebody else. Remember that guy that worked at the video store in Wareham at the Hollywood Video that everybody said he was my evil twin? Paul? I don't know.
Or are you the evil twin?
There was a kid that worked at the Hollywood Video Store that had like the same buzzed head as me and a beard.
I barely remember Hollywood Video.
That's true. And people would always say to me like, oh, I didn't know that you were working at the video store. Like, I don't. There was a guy there that looked just like you. It's not me.
I think if you put a Santa hat on and a red suit, you could pass for Santa.
Well, I've done that before. I got out of having to do it this year. There was plenty of people that came at me and asked me.
You should have.
No.
Don't they have a Christmas party here at Fun 107? And
we had it the other night at Frontier.
And did you dress up?
No, I did not.
Oh.
I actually responded. We had the big group email chain, and I responded saying, I'm going to be the fat guy with a beard that's there that's not Santa Claus. So that's how you'll know it's me. But no, there's no way I was going to dress up as Santa Claus in there. First of all, you're eating like tacos and burritos and stuff, and it's hard enough, Porter, you know this, it's hard enough not getting stuff in your regular beard, let alone in the fake one.
But then you went and put Christmas ornaments in it.
Well, that was when we went to the other bar afterward. We were sitting there, and certain ladies that work here with me were like, you should totally put one of those ornaments in your beard. And so
they convinced you.
As a joke, I went to try to hang it in there, and it wouldn't hang, and then another one was like, well, hold on. And then she started actually tying it into my beard. So
Perfect.
I'll do that. It's just, I'm not doing the glitter beard. People keep asking me. I'm not doing the glitter beard.
That's miserable. Yeah. Glitter is miserable.
Screw glitter.
Yeah.
I don't even, I like when people give me cards. I appreciate the thought. But if you give me a card with glitter in it, screw you. Because basically what you're saying is I want you to get covered in this crap and then have to deal with it and find it for days on end.
Don't look at me.
Glitter magnet. Anytime you're around me with anything that has glitter on it, I find it for eons.
No glitter. That's the whole reason why I don't go to strip clubs. There's too much glitter involved. I say strip clubs, this guy's ears pop up.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure.
Ooh.
He's like, I was looking at my phone till I heard strip clubs.
Well, I didn't know if we were going to make a quick pit stop after here tonight.
No,
I believe,
we're not.
I'm hearing rumors that one closed down.
Oh, I wouldn't go there.
Okay.
I take you to my friend's place.
I can't deal. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Something tells me that Christmas Eve is not the night to go to the strip club.
Oh, yes, it is.
Really? You think
Yes.
so?
Oh,
Apparently
absolutely.
he knows.
Absolutely.
John thinks
Apparently
any
it's
night
a-
is the
Right.
is
One
the strip
annual
club.
tradition.
One of my friends, who's the house mom, she made actual all sorts of like fudge and chocolate chip cookies and
Well, because when I go to a bunch of naked people, I want to eat the fudge.
Right.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
anyways, she made all sorts of treats for people coming in.
Oh gosh.
My God.
I just keep thinking Great Barrier Reef.
And you know, if I went there, I would definitely be Santa Claus. Because
Totally.
then you don't have to pay for people to sit on your
Yeah,
lap.
then you're going to say, sit on Santa's
Right?
lap.
They're going to sit on your lap for free. It doesn't cost you $20 each time.
I think they'll probably do that whether or not you have a Santa suit on or not. So
No, but
Same.
not have to pay for it, is what I'm saying. They're going to sit on my lap anyway, I know, but they're going to want money for it.
not necessarily.
So,
I ain't saying
You don't-
nothing
you don't
because I'll
have to
get
pay 'em.
myself in trouble. I'll get myself in a lot of trouble if I say anything.
I'm going to tell this story one time. One time. This is
One
One
time.
time.
This is
the
a
one time I'm
one-time
going to tell the story. And then
Okay.
it'll live on in infinitum on the podcast and the video stream. I went to one of those places. I've only been
It's
like
on Facebook Live. Just so
I've
you
only
know.
been a handful of times because it's not my thing.
Right.
Like it doesn't work. But I've never gone with you where people actually would
Exactly.
know who you are and
Yes.
everything. I've always gone there and been the guy that's kind of ignored because I'm not in there with 45 other guys that are just dropping
And then you
hundreds.
get pummeled by every single person asking for a question. You want to go here, want to go there. You get bothered.
It's like the couple of times that I've been there just to say that I went there.
Yeah.
And there was one time when I was supposed to go cover a game in Boston, and the traffic was bad, and so me and a couple of the writers couldn't get in, and so we decided we're just going to go out and get a drink. And we didn't know where we were going to go, so one of the writers said, "Well, I know this place over here, and we'll park over there." So we all left our car somewhere, got into his car. He drives us over to Centerfolds. So we go into there, and I'm just sitting in the bar drinking and watching the game on TV that I was supposed to be covering. And a employee comes over and starts asking me questions about who I am, what I do, and all this stuff. Finds out I am a sports writer, and apparently she wants to get involved in sports media. This is what she's going to school for and what she wants to do. So she wants to ask me all kinds of questions and pick my brain, but she's not allowed to just hang out at the bar and talk to people. She has to actually be working. So she was like trying to get me to go and get lap dances
So she could talk to
so
you.
she could talk to me the whole time. She's like, "I'm not even going to charge you for them. Like, just come over and talk." And I'm like, "Oh, just no."
No.
Like,
Because you know what happens then.
here's my email address.
We can do
Email
this
me
at
your
a safe
questions.
distance.
We'll do this at a time when you're not wearing just that. So,
I have a weirder story.
but I've heard some of your stories. Yours aren't really fit for air.
No, probably not.
Even just being YouTube only, I still don't think it's fit for air.
It'd be one of those that you
No,
have
I
to
mean-
verify your age first.
No, it's not. It's not totally awful, but
I have nothing to do with it, right?
Giant capital
Okay.
letters
As
in the
long
chat
as I
room.
have nothing to do with it.
Jimmy in the chat room, never eat the fudge. And Jimmy knows. Jimmy knows.
Yeah, but you got to understand, this place that I go to, they actually have a
Listen.
full-on restaurant upstairs. And
Where do you go, Brockton?
no,
oh god,
Providence. No, I would never
Oh
go to
god.
Brockton.
I would say I would suffer through having to see Brockton strippers if it meant I could eat Frank's at the same time. Because Frank's is phenomenal.
Yeah, no, you can't do that there.
But I always get the clam, so that's a real catch-22, you know?
Oh, boy.
Anyway, I get the clams and I get the really long foot-long hot dog.
This is so many
right up
puns.
and over.
So many puns.
It didn't go over my head. I just didn't hear it.
Jimmy says, I got stories too. I'll have to have a whole special edition show where we
Jimmy's
just...
stories are probably better than mine. I was gonna tell the.
Well,
I mean,
to-
it's not totally inappropriate. It's just if you know me, it's hilarious.
Jimmy's been to the strip clubs all over the country.
You know, I haven't.
So he has experience.
Yeah, but you've been to some of the better ones.
I had the first time
He
I
says-
stepped
he
foot
says
into a strip
better.
club. God, was probably like 6 years ago, and I
So-
got dragged in.
You got dragged in when you go with me.
Yep, I did.
Pretty much.
I did.
They're, yeah.
Go ahead, Steph. Tell your story.
He said no.
Oh.
Well, I just said it was probably not appropriate. But if she thinks she can tell an appropriate version of it,
It's an
then-
appropriate version. I mean,
then-
I've joked. You've been with me. You've both been places where
Absolutely.
I've always said people tell me their life stories, like anything to do with. I'll meet a stranger in a store, and they'll just walk up to me and start telling me their entire life story.
Yeah.
So I got dragged into a strip club, and I
I'm
think
sorry, I'm laughing at Jimmy's comment that he just made.
Uh-oh.
When I was
What was
talking about how she was wanting to be in sports media, he's like, she wasn't going to nursing school like every other stripper.
I get dragged in, and I sit down, and every single stripper in the entire place hated me because they thought I worked at another club and I was coming in as competition. Most ridiculous thing ever. If anybody knows me.
So what you're saying is you went in dressed like a stripper?
No, I was wearing probably something very similar to what I am now. So, because it was literally like off, you know, we're going to a restaurant and it was across the street. So like, we have to go. All right, fine. Didn't really prepare for this, but okay. But I walk in and somebody buys a lap dance for me. And they're like, you have to go. So I'm like, this is going to be ridiculous. So they all hate my guts. They sit down, they talk to me. At the time, I was like, listen, I bartend for a living. That's it. So after they learned that, they all loved me. They got me an application. They wanted me to work there. It was ridiculous. They sat there and forced me to fill it out. I never answered the call. And somebody buys a lap dance, so I go in there. So the girl's like, you know, whatever, talking, you know, doing her thing. And she's telling me her entire life story. She wants to go to school. She wants to move to this state. She wants to do this and that. I'm like, this is the most awkward conversation I've ever had in my entire life. I'm not really sure what's going on.
We don't need to hear your life story while you're sitting on our laps.
Listen, like, she's like, oh, you can do this. You can touch whatever. I'm like, no, I'm really good here in the corner by myself. I'm totally okay. She's after she gets done telling me that she wanted to go strip in a different state because they couldn't touch there. But I'm like, listen, I'm good. I'm in the corner. You want to talk to me about your college career and whatever? I'm happy with that. It's fine. So it was the most awkward 15 minutes of my entire life.
Matt and I knew somebody who used to go to the strip clubs all the time, and the strippers hated him so much that they convinced him that it was okay for him to touch.
Oh my God.
So he'd get thrown
Remember
out?
that? Remember? Bobby.
Oh, really? I don't think I heard.
You never heard the story? So the strippers hated him so much because he was so obnoxious all the time, and like, you know, he was very demanding for his $20, and so they didn't really like him. So one of the strippers told him, like, hey, I can't get too graphic telling the story, but she's like, hey, you know, do this. And he's like, no, I'm not allowed to do that because that would be touching you and I'll get thrown out. She's like, no, it's fine. It's okay if I tell you that you can do it. You just can't do it on your own. Like, if I tell you, it's fine. And he's like, no, I don't want to do it. And he's like, come on, do it. Like, I'm really into you and I want you to do this. So him being the stupid idiot that he does it. And within 10 seconds, the guard grabs him and tosses him out the building. He's like, she told me I could do it. He goes, it doesn't matter. She told you she could do it because she knew that I was going to do this. And then he wasn't allowed back in. So, yeah. Anyway, so this is the part of the show where we talk about strippers. This is our new weekly segment.
Oh my God, stop it. It's usually snacks. We usually talk about snacks.
Snacks,
Strippers saying, you know.
We were talking about snacks, fudge and cookies.
I go just for the Italian buffet.
Well, so this place I go to does one night a week. They do steak.
Done.
Okay.
We're done.
But here's the thing though, why do strip clubs have buffets? Who? I mean, I
Because
have a hard
people-
time eating off a buffet anyway. Now, who wants to eat off a buffet at a strip club?
I certainly would.
No.
You would?
Oh, of course. That's all I would be there for.
Oh my.
Well,
The girls
and see-
come over and be like, please leave me alone unless you're bringing me more food.
And see, this place does that at lunchtime. As long as you come in, they don't charge you a cover. They give you certain days it's sandwich or steak or whatever, and you get one free drink. And it's just to entice people in to spend money.
Yeah, because
Wanna
you're
know
coming in
why?
on a Wednesday afternoon when
Because
nobody
you're
would come
walking
in.
in from when they open and they don't want you to leave. It's like a casino until they
absolutely.
close.
Yeah.
So if they
Right.
provide the food, then you don't
But
walk out.
at a casino,
And not to cut you off, but I've told you guys the stories of people who I've run into there.
Yes.
Oh my God.
when you go to a
Done.
casino and you go in an off hour and they're trying to keep you there, they still have the good dealers working. They still have the good bartenders working. They still have the good drink servers working. It's still people that are there. When you go to a strip club on a Wednesday afternoon at 12:30 in the afternoon, it's not the best. They don't have the top talent performing at that given time.
What
There's
places
a lot
have
of
top talent?
There's a lot of C-section scars during the lunch
Hey,
buffet.
hey,
Yeah, but you're not.
Hey.
You're not walking around in underwear.
hey. No, but let's.
I'm not giving anybody crap for having a C-section. I'm saying I don't want to see it.
When I'm having lunch. I don't want to be eating a buffet off your C-section.
It's just,
Oh my God.
you know, I understand like going in there and they have like the Wednesday pasta buffet and they'll have like the Thursday hamburgers, but
It's real life.
I get really bothered by when they're advertising Taco Tuesday and Fish Fridays. because
Roast beef.
you gotta. Yeah, right. You walk in, you're like, where's the buffet? Like, we didn't say anything about a buffet.
This is downhill fast, man.
Well, because if you're a good Catholic, when you go to the strip club on a Friday, you can't eat meat.
This is
You're
true.
gonna have fish Friday. All right.
I'm laughing so much.
This is
Oh
this is
my
what we
God.
do here on the show.
We did talk about ghosts at one point, remember?
Yes.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about ghosts because it is the holidays, and listen, there's people who are
It's the ghost.
there's people who are paranormal investigators that I know that say that this time of year is busier for them. There's
Yep.
people who I know who have activity in their homes that say that it ramps up at this time of year, and that for some reason being around the holidays is increasing this activity. And I think that there's different reasons for that.
Right.
I think the biggest overwhelming reason why people notice more paranormal activity around the holidays is because they're home more. They're probably home wrapping presents. They're going out shopping all day, and they come home like 8, 9 o'clock at night. They're worn out, so they're already kind of tired. They're already kind of going into those beta waves, just sitting on the couch. So they're a little bit more attuned to this kind of stuff. There's a lot of families around. So when families around, if family spirits, Stephanie, you probably know this better than I do, but
Right.
if more family is gathered together, it's probably more possible that your family spirits are around you because everybody's kind of all gathered together.
Well, it's the same thing as, how everybody's feeling about their past loved ones during the holidays. They want them to be around. They're missing them. So, of course, those thoughts are going out to the universe and they're coming back. So you're surrounded by family more so around this time of year.
Do you think there's more energy in the air too? I mean, it's less humid, so you've got more energy in the air. Static is stronger. Do you think that has something to do with it as well?
Well, that too, and not only that, but people are putting out a lot of positive energy. There's a lot of. Did you see the Fish Taco Fridays comment?
They wore hairnets. So
I'm more laughing at the one that says, "Well, one thing is that you'll never find a hair in your food."
All depends on which ones you're going to.
Oh God! I thought we were moving on.
I really was trying. I was trying so
Comments
hard.
are just
Listen
coming
to
in.
me.
I'm in tears right now.
guys, the
I
worst-
am in tears.
The worst part of this entire thing is my mother is texting me
Yes.
right now with comments.
She's like, "Well,
That's your mother.
No, she's texting. She's not on the Facebook Live.
Oh,
yeah." She's
Oh my
talking about
God.
hairnets.
oh my God. Yeah, there goes Stephanie snorting.
My God.
Tim's just like, "Oh my God."
How did we get here?
I'm just riding the wave.
Oh my God.
It's if this is what people want to talk about and what they want to comment on, then that's what the show topic can be.
Oh my God.
He's crying over
I'm in
there.
tears.
If you want to call in with your dirty stripper story, 508-996-0500, 877-996-1420. If any dirty strippers are in the audience and you want to call in and tell us some of your stories, we would love to hear them.
Oh
my
man.
God.
I can't breathe. It's hot.
If you want to tweet us the worst thing that you've ever eaten in a strip club, you can do that at SpookySC or using the hashtag SpookyLive. If anybody's working at the strip club and wants to bring us some food,
No.
we're located at 22 Scoticut Neck Road.
We're okay with the food.
No.
Well, you said some of them have steak. I could go for a steak right now.
Listen, don't joke. The first time I walked in that night, I got dragged in. They gave me a free steak plate, and I didn't want to eat it.
She's like, listen, don't think that I'm throwing up because you gave me steak in a strip club. I just throw up at steak.
Right. Well, actually, I ate steak back then. Not anymore.
Was it a skirt steak? No, there's no skirts in the strip club. It was a flat iron steak. It looked like most of their faces.
I can't even comment right now. It's not appropriate.
No.
We got to do a live podcast.
There's
on
a
this.
there's a haunted strip club around here.
Really?
In this area.
Yes, there is.
There's actually been some discussion about Spooky South Coast going in and investigating it, but there's some hang-ups. Some of the people want it, some of the people don't. So I can't really comment on it, but we've been asked multiple times by different people that work there if we can go in and investigate it. So maybe we will. And the problem is like strip clubs never close, really.
Right.
So it's like, what are you gonna go 3 a.m. and go do an investigation?
Hey, it's the witching hour.
Yeah.
Witching hour somewhere, right?
They can get Ryan Buell to come and do it during dead time.
We can start a Patreon account and give away the strip club investigation.
Right? Yes.
So in the chat room,
Place a bid?
Supernatural Existence in the chat room says the worst thing he's ever eaten in a strip club was candy. At least he thinks that was her name.
Oh my god!
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming. Knew it.
Luckily, we are on YouTube and we can make that joke.
And Facebook Live.
Remember when we went to that strip club that time with it wasn't Nick that we went with, it was Ted. Yeah. And that was a very crypto visit to the strip club because the strippers were introduced to Mothra. Should we tell them the story? You'd have to know Ted to understand. But Ted was wearing like a members only jacket, right?
Oh god.
It was like a members only jacket, and he had it like zipped up, and he had it like under his butt, like sitting in the chair. And so you know how and for some reason we decided to sit right along where the girls walk down and dance, and which is apparently not the best seat in a strip club, but nobody told us that, or maybe we knew that and that's why we sat there. Either way, so the girls are coming like right up into our faces, and so they would like lean over into Ted's face to try to get him to, give him $1, and he would just unzip his jacket a little bit and start going like this.
Oh my god.
And so he turns to us and he goes, what did he say? Like, who's the one person that could beat Godzilla or something? Or what's the stripper's favorite movie monster or whatever? And he goes, Mothra. And he starts going like this. And it's because we had just gone out to eat before we went there, and he was farting into his jacket.
Shut up.
And when the strippers would come over to him, he would blow blowing the farts into their faces, and they couldn't tell the difference.
Oh my god.
That's okay. Susan just messaged me and goes, that could be a new event, haunted strip clubs.
We could do it.
No.
We could do it.
5 to 8, no, 8 to midnight, meet and greet. And then midnight to 3 or 4, we investigate.
Eat and greet. we can have the pasta buffet.
Yes.
So the eat and greet.
Get the steaks.
No.
Eat and greet with candy.
That'll be the one event that people are like, you know what? I ate before I came.
Stay for the after hours crop dusting too, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god, no.
That's required.
Listen, we need to get this back on track. Mama Cheryl just wrote in and said that we need more chick power to balance out this conversation. So
you're the worst of the bunch.
Mama Cheryl's welcome to come to the clubs with us.
I'm not the worst one in
Told a
this
stripper
room.
story.
So?
That started
it was an
all.
innocent story.
That started
no,
everything.
it didn't. It would add it to the conversation. I am not the worst one in this room.
Listen,
Hey,
don't let Mama Cheryl fool you. If she was here with us and we were all going to the strip club,
she'd be right there with us, I bet. I've yet to meet, well, I think I might have met her once, but didn't know who she was. But I'm looking forward to finally getting to meet her in Philly.
She's awesome. She's one of the best
Cheryl,
people in the world.
you need to call in and save me.
Well, I'm going to bring it back a little bit because we were mentioning why there might be more hauntings around the holidays, and you had mentioned, Porter, the energy in the air, and I think part of that too is people associate hauntings with negative energy too much because that's what you see on TV and everything, but there's positive energy can also play into this because it's just giving them something to fuel the fire. So when everybody's getting together and having a good time, that can be enough to kind of power up things and to stir things up. And I think that's why people find their loved ones are around them so much more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that too. One of the things that we found investigating on the show is that there's times when it just kind of gets stale and nothing's going on. It's kind of quiet, and then we'll just start bickering back and forth and just joking, cutting up, and then all of a sudden things go wild. So it's almost like that positive energy in some situations really fuels the fire.
That's why anybody that's ever investigated with me, you know that I'm going to tell a bunch of jokes while and I'm going to fool around a little bit. I take the investigation seriously, but I also will tell stories or talk about funny things. And I've had people say to me, like, how come, we're sitting there in the dark and you decide to start telling stories or you make jokes? Like, I don't know if that's professional. I'm like, well, what I'm doing is I'm just putting out a different vibe because the vibe that we have isn't working. When everybody's sitting there in the dark and they're scared about what's going to happen, maybe that becomes an apprehensive thing for the spirit. But if I'm telling some jokes and loosening everybody up,
interact more.
And sometimes not paying attention is when they want to react because they're like, why aren't you paying attention to me? So it does work.
Tim, can you give us the call-in numbers people are asking?
508-996-0500, 877-996-1420. Or if you're a stripper, you can just dial 311, and that will give you a direct line in.
Oh my God. God.
I wonder how many people are dialing that right now.
We're going to lose it if a stripper actually does call in.
We are. It's going to be over.
I would love it.
Like somebody's going to call and be like,
Don't
I'm
joke.
trying to think who I know that I can text.
You'll know.
I know a few too.
You'll know when it's a local stripper because they'll call and be like, "Hi, my name's Stardust." Listen, I don't like you making fun of the food at the buffet. That's what I feed my 8 kids. You just gotta brush the cigarette ash off them. I went to college with Stardust. We were in the same class.
Stop it.
She's a doctor during the day.
No, you're fine.
She's going to nurse school.
No,
she was then.
She was then. 508-996-0500. The first time I ever went to a strip club, literally, like, I just went to go kill time, like, between classes at UMass, and I went to, you know, the one down the street from there, and a girl from my class was actually in there, and she was, like, asking me questions about the midterm.
Really?
Yeah, that was a little awkward. So 508-996-0500. That's the number to call in. 877-996-1420. You can also comment in the chat room. Jimmy is a brave soul. He's offering to go do a live remote from the strip club. So
I doubt that's punishment for him.
yeah, well,
he might get punished and get thrown out though.
What I'm thinking here is that he's just offering that because he's already there watching Spooky South Coast on his phone. No, he's probably just at Hooters. See, when you're
Don't
Jimmy,
joke. That's where I was before I got dragged into the strip club.
when you're Jimmy and you're all over the place though, like you want to find people to talk to and hang out. You know, where do you go?
Oh my God.
Every place has a Hooters and every place has a strip club.
This is right. This is true.
So yeah. Anyway, so
wait until we go to Philly.
Why? No.
Because I know the owner of a good one down
I'm
there.
going to bed early.
Then they have cheesesteaks with the strip club.
You saw those pictures.
That was pretty good.
Oh my God! Jim Steaks is one of the best.
You're gonna have to bring me back one. They're one of the other good things too about holiday ghosts and wait, are you still in the strip clubs?
No, I'm talking
about.
I'm saying holiday food.
Okay, but one of the good things about holiday ghosts though is a lot of people who have these experiences, they come back as reporting them as being positive. Like there's not a lot of people who are terrified to deal with this activity around Christmas time, and I wonder if that is because people are getting into a more spiritual mode. You know, with I know that Christmas to a lot of people is just a, you know, like a family get-together holiday, trading presents kind of holiday. They don't always look at the reason for the season, as people say. But for a lot of people do. A lot of people do look at it as a very spiritual time. And so when they are doing that, they're reflecting on that. And they're reflecting on these connections between us as people and between people and God and all of that. So they might be opening themselves up more to having those type of experiences.
A lot of people also, I've seen in the past, reflect on Christmas and do a lot of remembrance of loved ones that have passed in that year, or maybe in a year prior to that. So because of that, they always, you know, get around family, big group. Oh, we want to remember this person because they, you know, they're missed now. So maybe because of that too, and maybe that loved one is with them, stirring up activity possibly too.
I think that if you are going to be, you know, open to it, then you're going to be more accepting of it when it does happen, as opposed to when it's happening to you at another time of year when you're not really expecting it or not really wishing for it. You know, you are sitting around kind of saying to yourself that not only are you connected with your loved ones who have passed on, but at this time of year, you feel like you're more connected with other people. So when you're walking down the street, you open yourself up to that person instead of not being friendly to somebody, instead of not saying Merry Christmas, you know, not that you would say Merry Christmas when it's not Christmas, but instead of not saying anything to that person and then just seeing somebody walk by and say, hey, Merry Christmas. You know, like you are kind of attuning yourself to more other energies as well. So you're opening yourself up not just for those who have passed on, but even those who are still alive around you. And so that's probably going to kind of turn you into a little bit of a beacon as well. Do you find, Stephanie, that, I mean, obviously, you know, you've developed an off switch over the years, but did this season get any harder for you before you had really had a handle on those things?
I don't think so. I think people living people, I should say, that becomes more of, I don't want to say a burden, but it becomes a little crazier over the holidays because everybody is trying to reach out to their past loved ones around this time of the year. So that kind of becomes a little crazy for me, but, you know,
So
as
just
far
people
as,
asking for your services.
Right.
Right.
But other than that, I think, you know, as far
But
as...
you don't pick up on like a increase in energy around you that you have to try harder to block out.
No, because I'm so used to it at this point. I've had it my entire life. I was born with it. So it's something that, you know, this is...
But even before you really had a handle on it, it never got
No, because
like, overwhelming.
if you think about it, I've dealt with it every single year my entire life. So it's something that I think I just subconsciously expect. So I can't really say that it's different around this time of year. Halloween's difficult for me. The energy shift around that time, yes. But Christmas, no. I think, you know, just the amount of people that are looking for that connection is a little crazier. But the energy itself, I'm kind of just used to it.
Do you think too that a lot of people this time of year they're going through a difficult situation where they've lost a loved one and they're missing them so much, and that internal sorrow that they have, they project it so much and they want to see them so badly that they're looking at things and grasping at anything that shows up, and they're looking to see if there's someone there to visit with them, but they're misreading those signs. Do you get that a lot too?
I don't know if I would. I mean, I think people misread signs always.
There's
anyway.
going to be a lot of that, like people being like,
we've
oh,
talked about
oh, this ornament was, you know, this person's favorite ornament,
Right.
and I just found it here.
And there
you
are
know.
times, I mean, I get some crazy stories in my emails, and we've talked about this before. Like, if it brings them comfort, let them go with
Right.
it. You know, who are you to correct that type of thing?
And it's not really hurting anything.
No, it's not. But I think the hardest thing for me around this time of year is the amount of people, like you were talking about, that inner sorrow of, you know, hard times financially, because Christmas has become such a push for you have to hurry up and buy everything for everyone and spend tons of money. And that's really difficult for some people. But at the same time, it's difficult if they feel like they don't have anyone or they are missing people so badly in, you know, around the holidays. I'm dealing at this point in time, this time of year, believe it or not so much of I want to connect with my past loved ones, but I'm going through a really hard time, or I'm considering suicide and different things like that. And those are the type of emails that are filling my inbox right now.
Holidays always seem to bring that out.
That is a huge weight on my shoulders, because that, you know, as a human, I'm thinking to myself, you know, what can I possibly say, or what if I don't say the right thing? You know, am I in, you know, total control of whether or not you live tomorrow?
I don't have your ability, and I obviously don't have your empathy for mankind because I'm a dick. But there's also some degree of, like, you have to be able to say, I would assume, being in your position at some point, you got to say, listen, I can't save everybody. You know, and I can't sacrifice myself and my family and my time to have to deal with everyone, because if they're in that position, there's people that are closer to them than you are,
right,
that should be picking up on those things, and
I agree
should
with
be
you,
there for them to help
unless
them.
they don't have anyone, which can sometimes be the case. And it's difficult, and there's times where I, you know, there's only so much I can do, there's only so much I can say. I can't fix the entire situation, but I just try to make the best suggestions possible to help them, and, you know, to try to guide them in the right direction. It's not easy.
I would just be like, I would just make it look like an auto reply, be like, here's a number for the suicide hotline, you need to talk to them. I'm serious, like, because I would say, listen, I'm not equipped for that. Talk to them, get yourself in the right frame of mind, then I can help you.
Well, too, you don't know, a lot of times when you're dealing with someone like that, like for me, if I was dealing with someone in that situation, you may be talking to them and saying something that you think may be helpful, but it may be one of those trigger phrases or words or something that just really puts them over the edge.
And, you know, you touched upon this a little bit too. I think the people who do have negative paranormal experiences at this time of year are probably people who are very stressed out by the season.
Correct.
You know, because, like, hey, I'm out buying Christmas presents today because I got paid yesterday. You know, like, it's when you live in paycheck to paycheck, it's hard to really have you know, when I hear all these people that say, oh, I've had my Christmas shopping done since September and I've just been relaxing and enjoying the season. Well, that's great, but that doesn't work for everybody. And I think that if you have those increased stresses,
right,
you know, you're already paranoid, you're already worried about everything, that you're kind of opening yourself up for
you
some
definitely
of the more
are.
negative
I teach
things.
that in my classes all the time. You know, you have that negative mindset, and every single time you have a horrible thought or a negative thought about something, that goes out into the universe like a boomerang. Guess what's going to come back to you? what you're putting out there. So especially in my Reiki classes, I try to teach people, you have to sit down and truly think about every single thought that goes through your mind. If you're thinking something horrible about somebody else or wishing horrible things on them, that's going out and it's coming back to you, and you wonder why your life is so miserable. And we're so conditioned to think about the negative things that are said about us or the negative things that are surrounding us, that, you know, if somebody says to you, if I say, hey, Porter, you know, I heard something horrible about you, your first response is, well, who said it and what did they say? Tell me everything. Right. And instead of just brushing it off. But if somebody were to give you a compliment, we're always like, oh, no, that's not true. Oh, that's, you know, compliments make me feel really strange. I don't know why, I can't explain it. But we stand in front of a mirror every single day and pick out what's wrong with us rather than looking at the positive. Hey, I'm alive, I'm happy, I'm healthy. You know, so I teach that a lot in my Reiki classes, and changing your mindset on that type of situation, it changes everything in your entire life and your entire outlook on life. You know, looking at something like you don't have a ton of money, you know, for Christmas. Okay, but you know, you have family, you have health, you have happiness. It doesn't matter. That saying, you know, it's not what's under the tree, it's who's around it. So it's, you know, changing how you feel about everything, you know, or doing something little for somebody else, you know, doesn't matter. Give to the less fortunate. You know, if you don't have a ton already, you know, it doesn't matter what you're out buying thousands of dollars of gifts for other people. It's just,
you know,
it's a crazy time of year.
We mentioned earlier how there seems to be an increase this year of people stealing packages off other people's doors. And one of the things that I've noticed this year, and, you know, maybe it's because I read a lot of Turtle Boy too, but one of the things that I've noticed is there are a lot of people who are not, there's people who have their hands out for help at Christmas.
Yes.
That have done things that would hurt them. You know, they've put themselves in that position. So it's basically like, I decided to go out and get a bunch of tattoos and go out drinking and buy weed and all this stuff, and now it's 2 days before Christmas and I don't have any gift for my kids.
Don't be knocking people with tattoos.
I'm not knocking people with tattoos.
I want them to come right before Christmas and spend money.
I'm knocking the people who don't budget for the tattoos.
Right.
And people should be going to you and buying gift certificates to get.
That's how I get my money for Christmas.
They should be.
Are you financing tattoos yet?
No.
Okay.
No.
You can buy them in installments.
Installments.
We draw part of it, and then you come back, we draw part of it. You know what you should do when it comes to things like that? Like people who are like, "What if I can only? How much is this tattoo? It's $200. I only have 80. What can you do for 80? I'm going to draw the same thing, but really small." You know, it's like you can get a small, a medium, or a large. You want to supersize that? But there's been a lot of people that have been doing that. There's been a lot of people that have been putting themselves into these holes, and I know it's not just. I mean, I'm seeing it in some of the Facebook groups that I'm involved in, even some of my Facebook friends, where they put themselves in a position where they're hurting now financially. They're looking for other people to bail them out, and I look at it as like, I'm not a big karma person. Like, I don't really believe in that kind of thing. But I also look at it as it's a dichotomy, because there's people who are doing the right thing by trying to help these folks. And they're like, I'm going to bring you $50 worth of gifts. I'm going to bring you some gift cards, whatever. They're doing whatever they can because they don't want to see the kids in that family suffer for Christmas. But they're doing all this good stuff. But then the people who are putting themselves in this position, there has to be something bad that's going to come back at them later on. You know, and it's like, does one cancel the other out? Does one person being bad by, you know, spending all their money on themselves and not having money to buy their kids anything for Christmas, does that get canceled out by the good person that wants to help out and gives a little bit more to that family? You know, or are we just going to be at this one point where, you know, all these ratchet people are screwed come July when karma comes back on them? It's just one of the things that popped into my head as I'm reading these stories, because some of these stories that I'm hearing are, you know, heartbreaking. Like, listen, you know, somebody died, and you know, we only have one income coming in. You know, some of that stuff is tragic, and you want to help those people.
Sometimes that stuff can be overlooked because the other stories that you mentioned are the first ones that people jump on. Right.
I mean, I know there's always people who, and I've known people close to me that have been in those situations over the years, but the negative ones, the ones of people who are just basically like looking for people to bail them out for being shitty people, those are the ones that I think are polluting the pool, and I don't want to see that karma come back on those people who are nice enough to help them. And it's almost like you got to cut it off at some point. Like, you got to say, I'm not helping you because you should have been in a better position than this. You know, there's a reason why they say, I've asked my family for money, but they won't help. Because your family knows that you don't deserve the help.
What you're describing, too, is, you know, users.
Mm-hmm.
You're not necessarily describing every single person that's made bad choices in that one.
But there just seems to be a huge increase in the users this year.
No, I agree with you. But, you know, the people that, you know, made bad choices and that one good deed can change everything for them moving forward, that's different. But the people that do this year after year with, like, almost like a con artist type.
Right. Well, they're opportunistic.
Deal. Right.
Yeah.
And you can usually...
That's different.
You can usually tell because the stories are, you know, it's the same story they used last year.
Right.
They still have the GoFundMe up from a year ago. Like, when was this GoFundMe created? April of 2013.
Yeah.
And it's to help your kids at Christmas. So, I don't know. It bothers me that there's people who want to do good and they will get taken advantage of by the people who are just terrible people. But what can you do? We just happen to work in a field where we honestly believe people's intentions can affect their lives.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody feels that way. Not everybody believes that. Not everybody understands that. And so they do these kind of things and then are shocked when more bad things happen to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it's okay because when people bailed me out last year at Christmas, they'll bail me out again next year.
Right.
So, that being said, if anybody wants to send me any Christmas presents, I've had a tough year. I need
there's a bunch of Oreos sitting in front of you right now.
I need
I forgot about that.
No, I'm
really?
I need
Oreos.
I need gift certificates to the strip
Oreos.
club.
Do you?
Yes. I need gift certificates to the strip club.
Tim's hungry. He's got to go for the buffet.
I need the buffet tickets.
Candy for dessert.
I'll just get you a membership, Tim. I'll just get you a membership.
John's got connections.
Do they actually have memberships?
Yes,
Is that a real thing?
At this one they do because this one has 3 floors, so you're only allowed.
What happens on the third floor?
The
Stays on the third floor.
The second floor is a full-on restaurant. The third floor is a smoking room with pool table, bar up there, everything, TV, lounge area. You can just sit back and relax and smoke. And so to go up there though, you have to be a member.
What do they charge for membership?
For every quarter, it's $300, but you get 350 food and beverage comp put on your card. So basically, you're getting $50 extra besides giving you $300.
At the restaurant or at the buffet?
I feel like this is a weird commercial.
This keeps circling back, doesn't it? It keeps circling
We're,
back.
Listen. We're on the YouTube here. We're not on the radio.
The most ridiculous part
Go
of
ahead.
all of this.
No, hold on. Drop it. Tell us where.
Oh, it's Desires in Providence.
All right. Give us the address. Give us the phone number, the website.
He doesn't know. His car just automatically drives there.
Give us
it's just saved in my GPS.
Give us the specials. What's a good special? What's Monday night, amateur night?
No,
kind of
Tuesday night is prime rib night.
All right, you had me at prime rib. I wasn't sold on this till he said prime rib.
No, seriously, it's prime rib until 8 o'clock every Tuesday night, and it comes with sides, and you get two free drinks of your choice.
What comes on the side?
Yeah, what do you get on the side?
But how is the prime rib? Is it good?
I don't eat prime rib, so I can't say. It looks good. I've seen it.
Captain's cut, nice.
Oh no,
cut.
it is nice and thick. Yeah, no, it is.
What are we talking about?
I don't know what we're talking about here.
And then during the summer, every Friday, Saturday night, they have burgers and hot dogs on this huge, which these two can attest to. It's a huge round outdoor grill area.
Listen, I went for the free drinks. That was it, and they
were awful strong, weren't they?
They were awful.
So I'm going to start a GoFundMe for the membership fee.
GoFundMe for the membership fee.
Help
Christmas.
Help Tim have prime rib and naked women. Help Chinese guy. Please help me.
So
I'm trying to buy prime rib and see naked women and buy cases of Peggy Lawton brownies. I only said that because they brought up the Peggy Lawton brownies again in the chat room.
Mama Cheryl has said. Did you read this?
I saw the comment. Yes.
She's game for a strip club in Philly.
Absolutely. So since I know it's on YouTube, I can say the name of it. It's actually I'm friends with the manager of the place, and it's Larry Flint's Hustlers Club in Philly, and I've been twice already, and it's actually it's compared to Desires, like it's really up there. It's really, really nice. Yes. And
You know,
Like I said, the manager is my friend. When I went there I actually took Robert Mukes there when we went down for the tattoo show that I got him booked at. And they were awesome over there. They gave free drinks all night. And I mean, it was really awesome.
Rebecca wins comment of the night in the chat room.
Uh-oh.
It's not prime rib, it's roast beef.
You know, I almost said it, but I'm like, you know, I'm just going to leave it be because then we're just going to circle back around.
I
And it's
already
just
brought
gonna,
that up one time,
right.
though,
Yeah.
so.
I'm going to blame you for that one.
You can.
Nice.
I threw it out there, and it circled back.
All right.
And I just got yelled at by Susan. What's wrong with you for not eating prime rib?
Are we off the air?
Sounds like it.
I don't know why.
Something's up.
That's the worst noise on the planet.
Yeah, it'll switch over itself.
It's like the song that never ends.
It's supposed to flip over in 7 minutes. So
we get to listen to that for 7
no,
minutes?
I'm just going to keep hitting this till
Okay.
something else clicks in. I'll just keep every time I hear it beep, I'll just press another button. That's what I do. I know what he's doing.
Okay.
He's going to turn off the beep. Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe he's going to the bathroom. Who knows? So I do want to let people know that tonight's show has been on YouTube only, and and it's been sponsored. Tonight's live stream has been sponsored by Council Cabs, specializing in custom speaker cabinets for guitarists and bassists with the musician in mind. They make hand-built cabinets geared toward beginners, lifelong enthusiasts, and full-time touring musicians alike. They in addition to building their own custom ones, they also repair and refinish ones that you may have as well. So go to Council Cabs, COUNCILCABS, councilcabs.com, or you can email them councilcabs@gmail.com. And they have a really cool logo too as well. So check it out on councilcabs.com. So they sponsored tonight's live stream, so thank you to them.
Awesome.
And if you need speaker cabinets, definitely go and see them. I mean,
there you go.
I could just imagine that a lot of our audience are musicians.
Right.
A lot of them are, people who are audio enthusiasts. So councilcabs.com, that's the place to go. And I could have had Matt tell us a little bit more about them too, but he walked out of the room.
See, another friend that works there. She made cheesecake squares for the girls. See?
Well, that's for the girls. You shouldn't be going in there and eating the girls' treats.
See? Cheesecake squares.
You shouldn't.
Just to say thank you.
Going downhill again.
But that's for the girls.
Yeah, but still.
If you go in there and they're like,
no one else.
if you go in there and they're like,
No one picked it up.
No one?
They left it alone.
if you walk in and like, do you want some of our cheesecake squares? You should be like, oh no, those are just for you guys.
Can I have your treats?
Right? God.
My name is Tiny Tim.
That's right.
Go to my GoFundMe page.
Now it's getting personal.
Oh my God.
Listen, don't make me show you my Yule log.
Oh my gosh! As long as it's not next to the Great Barrier Reef, we're okay.
Right?
Stop it.
I will pull that thing out, and all you will hear is Handel's Messiah just filling the air.
Susan says she got your comment, Porter.
She
got it.
Matt, while you were gone, I did do the sponsorship, just so that you know. Okay.
We might as well say Desires was sponsored to tonight's show.
Listen,
too.
the
They
next
gotta
time,
pay.
I got a
The next-
plug.
Yeah.
the next time you come in, have them send some talent.
No.
They can
Stephanie,
and
no.
some prime rib.
Oh, this is going to become the Howard Stern show now.
Right?
You're gonna watch the ratings go. Whoop. We'll be taping off the windows.
So we used to do a thing in the paper every week where we would pick all the NFL games, and we had a sponsorship for it, and they lost the sponsorship for it. And so I suggested, well, why don't we have the strip club sponsor it? Like, the strip club would be perfect. And they're like, no, we can't have strip clubs advertising in the newspaper.
Why
I'm
not?
like, sure you can. And then I suggested getting them on as a sponsor on the radio here for like, I wanted to do a weekly segment called Ask a Stripper on my Saturday morning show. And I was told back then, no, we can't be advertising strip club on. When we're on YouTube only, we don't mind advertising the strip clubs. So if they want to get involved and get some sponsorships, we will. Because who better to advertise to than the people who are sitting at home on a Saturday night watching us talk about ghosts?
There you go.
They're like, maybe we can get those people to come out and go to the strip club. I mean, just the revenue they could get from Jimmy alone when he comes up here.
Oh my God.
It'll probably make it worth it. We're just kidding. We love you, Jim. He's making this is the most animated I've ever seen him be in the chat room, and he's usually very animated. So what does that tell you?
Oh yeah.
But we started talking about something near and dear to his heart. So we are just about out of time. It's the last 4 minutes or so of the show, and it is the show that is right before Christmas. So we do have Christmas wishes that we want to, give everybody our best.
Of course.
Yes.
And I'm going to go around the table real fast and just, we're all into weird stuff. People know that people in our lives know that we're into weird stuff. So I'm just going to ask if anybody ever received any kind of a Christmas gift based on your weirder side, the stuff that you're into. Did anybody ever give you a gift that was something, paranormally related, or they're like, oh, I was in the store and I saw this and I immediately thought of you. I thought you would like this. So, and I'm going to exclude from that, gifts that people have given us that are like listeners of the show, because obviously, that's tied into what it is that we're talking about. I'm talking about your family, your loved ones, coworkers, what have you. Did anybody ever give you anything that was related to your weirder side? Stephanie, anything?
I'm trying to think. I want to say maybe books to do with the paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if anything else would. But weird Christmas stories. I used to be able to tell my parents what was inside of the boxes that they wrapped and then hand them back to them totally perfect still, and make them unwrap them for me because I already knew what was inside. So
yeah, you would drive my grandmother crazy because she used to love to put things in a different box.
Yeah.
Like just to mess with you. So like you would open up, like you get this big giant box and you'd open it up and you're like, what is this going to be? And then you open it up and it's like this giant like box of mason jars.
Right.
And then you're like, you got me mason jars? And she's like, open the box. And then you open the box and there's like a toy inside.
Right.
Like she used to do that stuff just to mess with people. So you would totally blow her whole Christmas game.
They'd hand me the box. I'd say, oh, thank you, Mom. And I'd say what it was, and then I'd hand it to my dad, just totally wrapped still. And back and forth. My mom, actually, it's on VHS. I'm going to have to take a video.
Out.
I'm going to have to dig it out and just take a video of it so people can see.
I have the conversion technology. Yeah, I can make it digital for you.
I actually...
And Aaron can, too.
Did you see what Rebecca just wrote in the chat?
No.
How about alien strippers?
Hey, I think I've seen those before.
Did you get those for Christmas, John?
No.
Are you asking for those for Christmas?
No.
You can always tell the alien ones because they've got the third nipple.
This is true.
That's how you know.
Yes.
They've got 3 of those little things on.
I was going to say on the probe, but I think
I might have to delete this from Facebook forever.
Did you ever get anything?
I can't say that I've gotten a gift, specifically at Christmas or any time, but I did get a really cool gift from one of our video guys on the road one time. He brought me a stone back from the Mount of Olives in the Holy Land, and of course, I'm very religious, and so that was really something really neat to me, is something like that. But that was, because I'd said that's always been one of the places I would love to go to, just to experience and would love to investigate. I mean, anywhere I go, I want to investigate.
Did you feel any energy from it?
I can't say that I did. It was just, an emotional thing. It's kind of like, it's neat to have a piece of that piece of history.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I'm a big history buff too. So anything to do with history, I absolutely love. So, that's the one thing that came to mind when you mentioned that. So
there are a lot of people who do what we do and will bring with them, holy relics. Mm-hmm. Like they'll actually have some people claim to have a splinter of the True Cross. I think actually Ed Warren, I believe, claimed to actually have a splinter of the True Cross. But, people will have different religious relics that they'll carry with them as a form of protection. And so if somebody gave somebody that for a gift, I could be like, well, that's a pretty awesome gift to have, even aside from this. Like, just to have something like with that type of a significance to it is pretty awesome. John, I don't want to know what gifts the strippers gave you.
No. I honestly don't know. I mean, I'm not huge on asking for anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I think anything that I do get, it's because family members or whoever know that it's just something I want. They never ask me. Like, even my mother will send up a gift package from Florida, and it's always, like a gift card or something. I think it's just the fact that they still, to me, it's not so much getting a gift, it's just the actual appreciation that they still think to, I know he could use this and go out to dinner, or I know he could use this and get something that he wants for his truck. So it's not specifically one certain thing.
Matt, how about you? You ever get anything paranormally for Christmas? I know that you have to grab the microphone, but
Paranormal related?
yeah, well, just anything
like a few bucks here and there.
Anything weird that they're like, you're into weird stuff. I thought you would like this.
I got a Lego Ninja alarm clock that was pretty badass one year.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Was that last year?
I think it was like 2 years ago. Yeah.
I'm not judging.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. It's nifty. It's like this tall.
Still use it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's the only clock in my house.
Not surprising at all.
Oh, that's right. You don't have cable, right? So you don't have a cable box.
I have a cable box.
Oh, you do?
It's just not hooked up.
Okay. So it doesn't actually display the time?
I hooked up my cable box, and I was like, this is crap. I don't even want it.
Yeah, Matt's a cord cutter.
I hate cable.
He's one of those cut the cord people.
Yeah.
I admire you. I'm too dependent on it. Well, and to answer the question myself, I don't think I've ever gotten anything weird from anybody.
No.
But now watch. Everybody will give me some sort of weird gift tomorrow.
It's on now.
Well, now I got to think about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to grab you something strange.
Mm-hmm.
In the neighborhood?
Yep.
You got it.
No, that's... I'm the same way, though. Like, I don't really... Like, I tell everybody, just give me a gift card for Christmas. And then I save them up for years.
You
and
do.
then
That is true.
Finally just go out and buy something that I want with them. You know, like, they always love it when I walk into, like, Best Buy because they know I'm plunking down 4 years
Just make it rain with gift cards.
Yep. It's like, this is from my birthday 3 years ago. This is from Christmas 5 years ago.
Is that what you're going to throw up at the strip club, too?
Yeah, I'll just do
gift
that.
cards?
They walk over and they're like leaning forward, and I just slide the gift card between their cleavage.
Stop it.
You know, they have those chips now.
It's better than what I did before. Like, they walk over and I'm like, all I got's a 10. Can I get a 5 and 5 ones?
And a gift receipt.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just in case this is the wrong size, you know, I can return it later on.
Oh, but I do have a stack of quarters. Here you go.
That's always the hard part is, you know, when people are like, oh, I have a stack of ones, and they're like, oh, what, are you even going to the strip club? Like, no, I'm just broke. That's all I have is ones.
Listen, I used to trade in when I was bartending all of my ones at the end of the night, and I would be so mad if I had to leave there with a stack of them because I didn't want people to think that.
Well, it was funny for the past, like, again, you guys know my tattoo shop's in Brockton, so it's not the best of area. That's probably, you know, tip-wise. And I do. Sometimes, you know, people come in and get a piercing or a tattoo, and, you know, the tattoos can be a lot of money, and they don't have a lot left to leave for a tip, so they might leave like a 5 and 2 ones, or, you know, some might just give a couple ones, 3 ones. Piercing, you know, those are only $20, $30, $40, so they might give like 4 ones or something. So I saved my ones. And literally, I got them out, and I have a drawer in my room that I put them in. And I literally opened it the other day, and I counted it, and I had 275 in ones from this year, all just sitting there. And I didn't even know what to do with it because
some lucky lady is
getting
$275.
I'm gonna go to some store or some bank and use this, and the first thing they're gonna think of
the roast beef store,
some buffet.
Yeah. Well, you are up here for another day, right, Porter?
No, I'm leaving tomorrow.
Well, they open at noontime.
He'll be at the airport.
I'll be at the airport.
Wait, it's not about when they open tomorrow. It's when they
close
tonight.
We can still make it. We can still make it.
Especially with John driving.
Yes.
Yeah, no kidding.
Hey, I make it to Philly in 4.5 to 5 hours.
And he makes it back home in 3.5 after he's eaten enough of those cheesesteaks. He's got to take a dump.
Yeah, right? That's why I have to rush.
What the hell?
DEFCON 5.
That's the only time I like roast beef.
And on that note,
strip club. All right, I think we should really end it here because we're getting out of control, and John's going to get to the strip club before it's too late.
After midnight.
So we do want to say Merry Christmas to everybody out there, and we will talk to you next week when we'll look back at a paranormal year in review, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the things we see upcoming in the future. And I also got a chance, just real quick, got a chance to talk to the amazing Kreskin again this week during the Phil Paleologus show. We interviewed him on Wednesday, so you can check that out on the WBSM YouTube page. And he's actually going to be coming back to the Phil Paleologus show on my birthday on January 4th at 9:10 in the morning. So I'm going to be coming in for that. So if you are a fan of the amazing Kreskin, if you liked when he was on with us a few months ago, then you can tune into WBSM on January 4th at 9:10 a.m. to hear more with the amazing Kreskin. He's going to be making some predictions for 2018, and he made one prediction this past week when he was on. And he said that in 2018, we're going to have an influx, a big thing going around the country where people are going to be naked in theaters, movie theaters, where you go to see plays. People are going to be naked in theaters. Not the cast, not the people on the stage, but people in the audience are just going to be removing their clothes in theaters. It's going to become a big thing in 2018. So with that being said, we'll be announcing some new performances of an evening of ghost stories and New England legends. And if you want to get naked and you're good looking, we'll put you in the front.
Are we allowed to do that when we're at a strip club? Us get naked?
No.
He did not predict strip clubs, but I can check back with him and make sure.
My God.
And even when you have a membership, then it'll be revoked. All right, so that does it for tonight's show. We've already gotten into enough trouble, and we'll go off the air and get into some more. So until next week, for Matt, who's not here tonight, for John, for Porter, for Stephanie, I'm Tim. We want you all to stay spooktacular.